coming out of the Senate. They look like they might get to a bipartisan agreement coming out of the Finance Committee. That is nothing but bad news. The people in that committee, generally speaking, the Democrats on there are some of the top Democrats taking money from the healthcare industry, including Max Baucus. 7 out of his top 10 donors are the healthcare companies and their lobbies, and of course Republicans. So they're both motivated to come out with plans that help corporate America and don't help you and I at all. So after a lot of grumbling and, oh God, you twisted our arm and we're working so hard, look at that. They come up with a plan that, as it is outlined now, and it's not definitive yet, but this is the story coming out of the Senate, will, of course, have every provision that helps corporate America and none of the provisions that help you. Now, saying none of the provisions that help you is probably too much, okay? But I'll explain. I'll explain exactly what I mean. So, is there going to be a public option in this bipartisan plan? Come on, guess along with me. Of course there won't be, because the healthcare companies have no interest in that public option because it actually competes with them and can do it for cheaper and is a viable alternative. So they hate that plan. They want to kill it at all possible opportunities. And would that help you? Of course it would. It'd give you not only lower payments on your insurance, but it would cover everybody. Since it's the government, they wouldn't discriminate against you at all. So they are motivated to kill that thing, and right now in this so-called bipartisan compromise, they have killed it. And then when you get to the second issue, employer mandates, they've conveniently taken that out too. Now, why is this so important? Let me explain this to you. The employer mandate says that everybody, if they're a company of a certain size, anything over a very small company, they must cover their employers. And if they don't cover their employers, then they have to pay a surcharge so that those employers so that we can get money into the government to pay for the insurance that those guys have to go and buy and that we have to subsidize. Okay? Now, if you are actual conservative and you cared about fiscal discipline, whether you're a Republican or a conservative Democrat, you would want the employer mandate. Why would you want it? Because if you don't have the employer mandate, the employer is going to say, oh, there's new government subsidies? All right, kick everybody out of their health care insurance, let the government pay for it. And so when the government pays for it, then the bill goes way up. Do you understand? Then that screws up our deficit and our budget a hell of a lot worse. So if you're a blue dog Democrat in the House, or you're a conservative Democrat in the Senate, and forget the Republicans for now, you definitely should want an employer mandate, otherwise our budget situation is going to be much worse. Now, do they want it? Of course they don't want it. Why don't they want it? Because their corporate overlords, their bosses told them, hey, we don't want an employer mandate. We want to shift the costs onto the American people. You see how this game is being played? And of course what drives me crazy is in this Associated Press story and every single story I read about it, no one ever mentions that these guys all get paid by the healthcare industry and that might be a motivating factor. They take them at their word. Oh, they're looking for fiscal discipline. Hey, schmuck, you're supposed to be on the healthcare beat, right? Reporter. Do you know that that actually does not help fiscal discipline? Or do you think your job is to be a stenographer and write down what the politicians told you to write down? I'm in favor of fiscal discipline, so I'm going to pass this thing that's going to screw the budget completely. Now, look, get a load of what a win this is for the healthcare industry. Because if they'd managed to pass this so-called BS bipartisan compromise, right, which they were going to do all along, that's in this particular committee. I'm not saying all the Democrats are doing this. In fact, in the House, you have a pretty good bill out of the Health Committee, a pretty good bill came out of the Senate. But the ones in the Finance Committee were the ones that took the most amount of money for the healthcare industry. They were always going to do this so-called compromise with the Republicans. So if you do this, look at this. You don't have the public option competing with the corporate healthcare insurance, right? That's a huge win for the corporations. Number two, you don't have an employer mandate, another huge win for the corporations. Number three, then the healthcare proposal will cost so much more money. And when it does, they'll come back in 5 to 10 years, and the industry will tell you, you see this? Democrats and Barack Obama tried healthcare reform, and what did it do? It blew up the budget. We told you it was going to blow up the budget. See, that's why you shouldn't do any more healthcare reform. Let the free market take care of it. It's a trick being played on you. And the politicians aren't going to let you know that. And apparently, for whatever reason, the media is not going to let you know that. but we're here to tell you about it. And look, it's not everybody. Paul Krugman wrote an excellent editorial in the New York Times explaining this as well, talking about the Blue Dog Democrats. He was kinder to them. He said, if they care about fiscal discipline, this doesn't make any sense. It's the most counterproductive thing they could do. So I don't understand what their motivation is. That's being awfully generous. I think Paul Krugman understands exactly what their motivation is and why they're being hypocritical on this. And he pointed out, by the way, those Blue Dog Democrats who claim to care so much about the fiscal discipline and a balanced budget, they all voted for Bush's $1.35 trillion tax cut that blew an enormous hole in our budget. And that caused tremendous deficits. What happened? I thought you cared about fiscal discipline. No, you don't. You care about your own bottom line, and that, unfortunately, is leading them in the wrong direction now.